All right, so today we're going to just talk about the illusion of happiness. So, should you be happy?
Yeah, so the post, it's about the illusion of happiness in modern society shaped by capitalist systems and the pursuit of material success. It critiques the idea that happiness should be a goal, emphasizing that happiness is a byproduct of living authentically and not something to be chased. The relentless pursuit of happiness, fueled by consumerism, often leads to dissatisfaction and a cycle of seeking pleasure without fulfillment. Happiness should arise naturally from life, work, and experiences rather than be an external goal. So let's just start with breaking down this post and go over the points.
Yeah, and so the opening question, do you think happiness is something we should actively pursue, or does chasing it actually make it harder to attain? Should you try to be happy?
You can start.
I think my whole life I've tried to be happy. That's what you're supposed to aspire to. But everyone's definition of happy changes. I think you shouldn't try to be happy. You should try to cultivate a good definition of what happiness is.
Yeah, I always thought I need to try and be happy, but recently I just want to be content. And I don't know if that's sad or not, but like contentment is when you're balanced and happiness and sadness will come and go.
Okay, is it a fleeting emotion? Is it a lasting state? Does it come as a byproduct of other things, growth, purpose, relationships, material things, and even contentment? Is contentment happiness?
I don't think it is. Like for me, contentment is just having a normal day. And before, like having a normal day would be weird for me. I would write it down in my journal, like today was normal, and I didn't really know how to feel about it. Because I like feeling happiness and sadness or like feeling something. Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I like feeling life. But the problem for me is I've had a lot of good highs and a lot of bad lows. And the duality of good, bad is what we can focus on. Because the highs and the lows are life. But the good and bad, that's contentment in my mind. I think that should be the purpose, right? That should be what we seek. Whether or not material things come into play, you like what you like. You are who you are. You know, it took me a while to accept that because I didn't really know who I was. I knew who I wanted to be, but that wanted to be was based on what I wanted the world to see. And the world says, this is success. This is happiness. This is what you've always wanted. So I thought, cool, I want that too. And it felt good because that's the nature of it, right? Highs are good, lows are bad. The issue there was when you seek purely for the emotion that turns out to be empty, that's when I feel like you shouldn't pursue happiness because you're not pursuing it for the right reason.
Yeah. I guess this post also talks about like the capitalist market. Like, isn't wanting material things because of capitalism and marketing and, you know, them telling us which brands are designer or what cars are nice, like that type of stuff. So I guess that makes me question it more, like why. I'm aware that I want materialistic things, but I do also know that's not gonna ultimately be the thing that, you know, gives me pure happiness.
What is pure happiness?
I don't think it's achievable.
And is that okay?
Yeah.
So what if that's your pure happiness? Or is that your contentment?
I think I'm just too much of a realist where I just say like that's my contentment, where other people might say like, yeah, I'm happy, but their definition of happy is my contentment.
That's a lot to unpack because it's basically saying happiness is in your control, but it's also not. right?
The quote from Deadpool is, "Life is an endless series of train wrecks with only brief commercial-like breaks of happiness."
So to me, that says life causes unhappiness. How you respond to that unhappiness is what determines the quality of your life. So if you develop the mental, the physical, and the emotional resilience, no matter what comes, in this case, a train crash, you're ready for it. And not just ready for it, but you surrender to it. You experience it, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, all of it, because it is life. And it's your only life.
Yeah, that quote makes me feel sad about life, because when I read it, I feel like it's saying life is more of a train wreck than it is happiness, because commercials are shorter than the movie.
So is life long?
No, but it is a train wreck. Yeah,
What are you
when
doing
I'm
in
really
between?
sad, I really believe that quote. But I think you're saying, you're seeing more clarity and kind of understanding of that quote more than I do.
Maybe because I've experienced more life. I think in time, perspective is gained and you get clarity on situations because they often repeat themselves. So I guess that's the point, right? If happiness is something that is fleeting, why pursue it? Because you pursuing it is just going to make it harder to attain because it's conditional. It's, if I do this, then I will be happy. If I get this card, then I will be happy. If then. That conditional nature of happiness, that's you trying. Now imagine if you just don't try and happiness just comes. I think when I read that quote or hear it, that's how I perceive life. Like, shit happens. People are going to hurt you. Things are going to happen. But how you respond to it is what matters most. And that response can be packed with emotions. That response can be packed with ups and downs and wins and losses and goals and new relationships built and new challenges overcome or new failures or new life lessons. I think that's life. So the entire leading up to the train crash, that's life, right?
I guess the post kind of says this, what we're kind of talking about in one line, that happiness is a derivative, not a goal. So it's a derivative of existence, not its purpose. And when I think about this, it kind of helps me because it gives me less pressure to always push myself to be happy, or making sure I do things to make sure that I'm happy, rather than just living life and just being and take things as it comes, and happiness will come if, I'm being me and doing the things that I love.
There's nothing wrong with pressure, right? Pressure is something that produces growth. It's just that pressure sometimes is a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit hard to deal with because it's foreign, it's weird, it's new. But I think that's what makes it exciting, right? Usually when you are in these situations, or for me at least, those are the times where I felt the most alive, where I just felt like I remember everything. My senses are heightened. And that's usually outside of your comfort zone. That's usually something that you're pushing yourself to do. You don't really know why you're doing it, but you like doing it. You keep showing up, even though you hate how it feels sometimes. But you show up because ultimately you know you have something in your mind that this will be all worth it, or this is all worth it already. I guess that up and down roller coaster is fun, but what if you get to the destination and you realize it isn't what you thought it would be? I think that can be one of the dangers of only doing things to seek happiness, right?
Mm-hmm. Your expectation for everything can't be I'm going to do this and it's going to make me really happy. Yeah. But then that kind of sounds sad too, that you're kind of lowering your expectations. Which I do a lot, which is kind of sad. I lower your expectations so that you don't get disappointed. We could connect disappointment to this part of the post where the headline is "The Fleeting Illusion of Others' Happiness." So we can sit on a park bench and feel miserable, assuming that everyone passing by is happier than we are. Or we can embrace the moment, simply observing life as it unfolds. So for me, I think about like how social media is a big factor in this, and like how comparing yourself to other people will leave you disappointed in yourself and therefore like feeling sad or not content, if anything.
Have you ever heard, there's like a saying or a quote that says, comparison is a thief of joy. Like when I hear that or I read that, that's all I think. I just say, okay, social media is a beautiful thing, but if you're using it for the wrong reasons, and if you're not understanding what it truly is, it can be bad, and it can be something that sends you into a downward spiral. But there's nothing wrong with looking at something and saying, I aspire, or I want, or I like, and just continuing on, either continuing in the pursuit to attain that, or continue in whatever you're doing in your life. But when you start comparing and saying, I wish I had that, or why can't I have this, or it's gonna go bad. And I guess I'm happy that I've never had that feeling, or at least I can't remember having that feeling, because I can see how that's a feeling that's just, damn, that's horrible. I don't want to feel like that, because look around, life is beautiful and life also sucks. I don't know. You'll never find contentment there if you're looking for it on social media.
Yeah. I think like being in the industry that I'm in right now, and just like, I guess that was like my second job out of university, where like I saw a lot of young people with a lot of money, and, you know, I was, you know, just a salesperson working at a company. I was always comparing myself to them and like getting mad at myself that like, you know, I'm older than them now. Like, why do not I not have the things that they have? Or like, how come I couldn't figure it out that fast? I've definitely like compared myself before, and it like put me in a bad place.
I can see how that emotion can distract you, because it's a distraction. Like, if I do this, the goal is to get you to look here. But if you're so focused on looking at something rather than moving with it, you're gonna miss it. Just think about, how do you get what you want? By paying attention. And all the distractions, just forget about them. Right? Again, I think I just got lucky. I got blessed. I got thrown into a situation that I hated right away, which was a corporate job. And it was a good one. I worked for Ernst & Young for 2 years right out of college, and I hated it. And luckily, it was around the time that the internet was doing well, and I saw an opportunity and I took it. Did I know what I was doing? No, but I had an edge because I had my older brother and people who were in the industry, and I kind of just like rode their wave. And that was me just paying attention. I knew what I didn't want, and I saw what I wanted, and I had the time, I had the opportunity, and I just dove right in. Could I have sank? Yeah, but I just kept swimming. I just kept swimming. I think what drove me was I didn't want to be something I thought I wasn't, which was, you know, there's songs like Jay-Z that says like, damn, he's going to be a failure. Like, I never wanted to be a failure. What is a failure? Shit, I still don't know. Because I don't want to be a failure. Like, I don't know. Like, so whether it's parenting my children, whether it's being a good friend, whether it's being an asshole, like, I'm going to do it well.
Yeah, I think it seems like in your experience, you took the time to kind of think about everything and like figure out what you really want and what you don't want. And back then for me, when I was kind of stuck in that life stack of being at a job I didn't really enjoy and comparing myself to others, like, I didn't stop to think about what I really want. I was kind of just stuck in that spiral of like, just want to be rich, like, just want to do whatever I can to like make money, which looking back is not what I want, but I don't regret the experience. It just, I only learned from it.
Yeah. So perspective, again, with that roller coaster, right? Like, how many people actually take the time to look at their life stacks? How many people actually take the time to analyze themselves and get to know themselves? That's something that I've always, it's kind of like I take a snapshot of a situation and I say, if someone was watching, like, what would they think? So whether or not I care way too much what people think, that's another topic. And I'll just tell you right now, probably. Like, is that a good or a bad thing? Let's talk about happiness first. So for me, when I was in college, I feel like I was happy when I was playing football. Like, I know that for a fact right now. That's when I felt happy. Like, the practices sucked, the training sucked, the game sucked, everything sucked, but I loved it, right? Because it didn't suck. It was awesome. All of it. Everything was a good memory, that entire experience. And when that was taken from me, trauma, right, and injury, I had a choice to make. It was, what are you going to do now? You thought you were going to be an NFL player and everything you wanted, the cars, the house, the etc., it's gone. What are you going to do now? You know? This is a story you don't know.
Yeah.
But
I was like, I don't know that you got injured.
Yeah, that was the first time that I can remember that I got mad at God. And I was just like, fuck this. In super dramatic fashion, I took the Bible and I threw it in the trash next to me. And it was during camp, and like we were all in dorm rooms and etc. So my roommate was like a teammate. And I don't know if I was dramatic, right? I threw the Bible in the trash. Had one surgery, had another surgery, etc., etc. When I calmed down and got back around to it, it's just like, started being grateful, started saying I'm on a full tuition, like my parents couldn't afford college and here I am. Like, you come back to your senses, right? Like you get pulled back down to life,
Yeah.
Right? I remember opening the Bible and I took it out of the trash and I said, just show me what you want me to see. And I don't know the exact, right? The general statement is, or he who hath started a good work in you will continue until the day of Jesus Christ. And I remember reading that and thinking, okay, it was just like exactly what I needed as motivation, as ambition, as whatever, to say, shit happens. What are you going to do? Because God is still with you and he brought you here and he'll get you wherever you want to go. From that moment on, it's like I just switched mindsets and all I started focusing on was, now what do I want? How do I get it? So whether making a lot of money, whether doing all of this stuff and traveling and being able to live the lifestyle I wanted without the NFL was my Kanye West car accident or 50 Cent getting shot moment. It is what it is, but I only remember it because I had to remind myself plenty of times when I was really down that I've been here before. Like, I thought my life was over before. I thought everything I ever wanted was out of attainment before. And whether or not you believe in God or anyone or anything, it still remains true that if you want it, you can achieve it. I put it in my mind that as long as I believe it, I'm going to figure it out, because my actions then align with what I want.
Let's look in the comments and see what other people think.
I like this one. She says, I find the idea from Anitya, no, you don't exist, quite intriguing, especially in the notion that there is no fixed permanent self. If the self is in a constant flux, then it makes sense that our emotional states, including happiness, would also be transient. That realization alone could be liberating, as it removes the pressure of trying to achieve a lasting state of happiness and instead encourages us to focus on experiencing life as it unfolds. I like that one because it reinforces the idea that this is life. When she says that, no, you don't exist, there is no fixed permanent self, it's in constant flux, and our emotional states matter, that just tells me, okay, you need to surround yourself with what you want, because your environment is gonna be a reflection of who you are, who you become. Because what you're feeling is going to come to the surface.
That's what I felt too when like I quit my job. It's just like the risk of losing that and starting my own business and not making money in the beginning. But that was all worth it to put myself in an environment that I knew like I'd be happier with.
Yeah, but are you happier? Have you felt more lows or more highs?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
More.
And yeah.
Yeah, more.
More.
But
more. But the same.
Yeah.
But it's just more.
At least it was like through things that like I could somewhat control myself, or decisions that I made on my own, not someone else's decision, putting me in a low.
If you feel compelled to do something and you feel drawn to it, you kind of have to be curious and feed that curiosity. It doesn't mean give it all up right away. It doesn't mean just quitting and saying whatever, I'm out, and going into blazing glory and figuring out your next steps. It can mean that, but it can also mean planning and slow preparation and getting your ducks in a row. It can be scary to make a change to seek what you think would make you happier. But if you're constantly being pulled towards it, I guess the worst thing is letting yourself down.
But I guess that's just like the kind of type of people we are, right? Like curious, and we want to go for what we really want, and even like taking that risk sometimes. But before, I used to think like that people always say like ignorance is bliss, and not that I think other people are ignorant at all, but like just thinking of people that like don't think as much as we do, and just go through life happy, and they're happy with their life as it is, or at least it seems so, and they don't overthink or think so much about what they have to achieve next. And I used to be like envious of them. They just don't think of, like, it sounds bad to say like they don't have bigger goals for themselves, but like it's because they don't want to have them. They're just good with like living a simple life, going through the days and just wherever their life is at, whether they have a family or they're single, like they're just living life and not talking or thinking about like what they have to do next. That's what I was envious of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's true for them.
But
I've never asked.
Do you think ignorance is bliss?
What is bliss?
A version of happiness. Because sometimes I think like if I didn't get that certain job, I would have never traveled or known about this like marketing industry and see how like all these people live. If I didn't know all of that, then I would probably be happy like at my first corporate job or doing something else. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so bliss is complete happiness or just contentment, and ignorance is not knowing. Is ignorance bliss? Is it good not knowing you're happy? Or is it good not knowing your emotional state? I don't think so, because I feel like you'd be living life in black and white. There's some people who are more ambitious, and as a result, their ambition fuels their desire. But the people who aren't as ambitious, you don't know what their desires are. So what if they still want it, but they just believe they'll never get it? So as a result, they've already given up. We don't know what people are really feeling. We know what they might tell us.
I think everyone's definition of like ignorance is different too, because when you were saying that, I was thinking like, I could be wrong obviously, but I think some people don't want more. But then when I think of what I just said, how everyone's definition is different, maybe they're more like, if everyone has life stacks like we said, and everyone's goal was just to, graduate, get a good job, meet their partner, have a family. Like, somehow to me, that's like a version of ignorance. But to them, that could have been everything they always wanted.
Yeah.
So it's just what you want in life.
Exactly. So my wife, she's always wanted to be a mother. She's always wanted to be like a wife. And when we had this conversation and I asked her, I was shocked that was her response. And just because I'm like, wait, what? Like, no, I want this, I want that. But she always knew she would have a big house. Like, she always knew. She said she knew. And I said, how did you know? She was like, I don't know, I just knew. I have it in she has like a little book that she did in like elementary school. And she has how her wedding dress was drawn out. And she has what her kitchen looked like. She had all of this. And she never shared this with me until like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. But when we had this conversation, that's all she ever wanted. And other people might look like, oh, you're not working yet, or oh, you're not this. Some women feel guilty about just being a mother. But there's some women that's all they want to be. And there's nothing wrong with either. Because my mom didn't have the opportunity to be just a mother. She had to be a lot more, So it's just your life circumstances, it's your life stack, but it's all what you want. And if you have what you want, I feel like that's bliss. That's a good life. But a lot of people don't know what they want. And I think they want the wrong things because of the type of society we live in. And because of social media and because of the way the world is set up, you're constantly thrown different distractions. You're constantly thrown different things that, hey, do this. Hey, buy this car. Hey, go to this destination. All of that requires money. That requires like sacrifice, time, effort. And if that's all you really want and you don't achieve it when you thought you should have achieved it, that can end up being something that, is it ignorance is bliss or has life defeated them and they've just settled? We don't know, because on the outside looking in, we only see what they want us to see.
Yeah, I think they're talking about this, I realize more that anyone saying ignorance is bliss is like being judgmental.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because what is ignorance and what is bliss?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know.
You don't know what someone wants or what someone's been through.
Exactly. Do you journal?
Yeah, I started maybe like a year or two ago. And I always used to think it was like kind of lame. But once I started, it helped me a lot. And I write down what I'm grateful for too, almost every day, and just random thoughts.
Yeah. My journal entry is called the Random Thoughts. And every day, I miss some days, it is, but pretty much every day. And I write the date down too. So as a reminder to myself, I go in and I see that the past date was too far. I say, hey, I need to come back to myself. I need to reread my thoughts. I need to refocus my mind. And it helps because we're surrounded by distractions. And by writing things down, by being purposeful, you can kind of see okay, what are my true desires? What's my true happiness? Or if that's even important to you, right? There's some people who they don't even have to think about this, but for the ones who can't help it, it makes sense to organize your thoughts. It makes sense to take time with yourself and just figure things out. And life is going to be life. So let's just focus on being good people and being good humans.
Yeah, reflecting on the day helps me a lot too, or even just certain emotions. I feel if I felt something bad, I'll write it down and write why I felt that way and how I can kind of manage it better next time. And that helps me because if I don't write it down, I just overthink about how bad it made me feel.
I like that you said next time, right? Because even that, you surrender to the fact that it's going to come again, maybe in a different form, maybe in a different way. And obviously outside looking in, I can sit back and say, when this happens, remember that thought. I go through the same stuff, right? So do I believe happiness can be cultivated? Yes, but you shouldn't focus on happiness. You should focus on having mental awareness, mindfulness, and just everything needed to deal with whatever emotion that comes.
And just be.
And just be.